What is going on, y'all? This is Matthew Potter hosting the last part in the disruption of the year. We got a great show for you guys today. Super excited. For those just turning in, this is a show where we talk about some of the burning topics in real estate with four of the best and brightest, and also available at 12:30 on a Thursday. Individuals in the industry. I'm going to go ahead and toss it over to our fearless leader, Steve Trang. Go ahead and introduce yourself.
Hey everyone, it's Steve Trang, Real Estate Disruptors, sales trainer, and I guess the title I was given this year, podcaster, is a title I've not embraced, but I guess it is what it is. So, Steve Trang, Wu Trang.
Wu Trang is definitely not one to mess with. Next on the list, we got ourselves the main man, Eric Brewer.
How you doing? I'm a real estate investor out of Pennsylvania. I've been, I guess, with this group from the beginning. I've been out a couple weeks, so Leon Garner Minshew has been filling in for me as my backup. But just as any star or starter, when you come back from injury or you come back, your spot is saved. So I'm back. I'm anxious to be back, and I'm also available, oddly enough, at 12:30 on Thursdays. So I guess that makes me uniquely qualified.
Absolutely, Eric. We're glad to have you today. Speaking of someone that's always on their lunch break from their 9 to 5, we have RJ Bates III. Go ahead and introduce yourself, boss.
What's up, everybody? What's funny is I took a couple of weeks off to make a television show, and I got told that I have a 9 to 5. Eric leaves for a couple of weeks, and no one says anything. It's just the starter's back. Whatever. I'm excited to be here. This has been an awesome blessing for all of us this year, this show. Just want to wish everybody a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year going into 2023, and excited for today's show.
Same wishes to you as well. And rounding it out, we have the UCJ, Chris Jefferson. Go ahead and introduce yourself, boss.
Yeah, man. Chris Jefferson, Richmond, Virginia. At least today, man, the weather's terrible. Apparently there's a storm coming, but maybe Florida tomorrow. But Chris Jefferson, Richmond, Virginia. It's good to be back. It's good. Look, it's hard to not do something when you're such a winner. So it's good to be back with these guys. You're curious to see what thoughts and opinions they have today that aren't as good as mine. So we'll get to it. Potter, man, I see you've got a nice setup now. You look a little ambient today. All right. So it's good to see you as well, man. All right.
I appreciate the love. Steve invited me into the office today. He finally opened up the doors after his upvoting scandal of a couple of weeks ago.
I mean, you got to give the audience what they want.
All right, gents, we're going to go ahead and get right into it. First question that is of the burning thought process is, if your parents would look at your business, what would they say? Great question. Let's go ahead and go to it. What do you think, Steve?
I think there'd be elements of pride, and I think there'd be elements of shock. Probably the biggest shocker would be the fact that I cursed, because I never curse around my parents. They've only heard me curse once, and that's because I was really drunk at a Christmas party. I was really pissed off at somebody. So beyond that, they haven't really heard me curse. The other thing, too, is I think they'd be surprised at my behavior. Not that it's inappropriate, but that I am not the kid that they raised, right? Like, the kid they raised was a straight A, studied hard, hit the books, did everything, studiously. Whereas here, life of entrepreneur, everything is chaotic. Everything, it just feels like every day we're juggling something new. There's new fire. And I guess it's just balancing all the different things is not the typical, you think the book smart kid you would expect. So I think they'd be surprised by that element.
I mean, I'm partial. I know your parents, so I would probably agree with that assessment there. just a skosh.
Yeah.
Eric, what about you? What would your folks have to say about your business?
Before we move on to me, I just want to point out that based on what Steve just said, his work behavior is the same as his drunken, angry Christmas party behavior. So the way that he behaves at the office is cussing and angry, which is the same as he did. The one time they heard him cuss was because he was drunk at a party. So just his management style is the same as his raging and partying style, which is intoxicated and vulgar.
I regret nothing.
But I do think like my mom would be in shock. My mom's a simple woman. She runs a cleaning business. She was a dental hygienist for most of her life. She did one job for 50 years. I think the complexity of what we do as an entrepreneur would be something that she would be proud of. My dad was in the military and is a no BS, like wants the minimum amount of stress possible. I think he would look at me in this business and go, what in the F are you doing? There's way too many personalities. You're dealing with way too many people, emotions. He would want nothing to do with it. While I still think he would be impressed by what we've built, it would be, I think, remarkable to him that anybody would sign up for this abuse. I think that's what they would say.
Outstanding. RJ, what do the folks think about your business?
So this is a slightly emotional answer for me. My dad passed away a month after I started my business, and the last time that I actually talked to him in person was when I told him that I was starting my own business. So that was literally the last in-person conversation I had. So I know that there was a ton of pride there. I know that he would be beyond proud of the fact that we've been able to do this for over a decade. My parents started their own business in the early 90s, and it still runs today. So I know that they know how hard it is to be an entrepreneur. To kind of second what Eric and Steve said, I think they would be surprised by some of the chaos that we have. I think they would be a little bit shocked by some of the things that we do as far as being all around the country, coaching people, just the different aspects of our business, because their business was very simple. It was to sell office furniture. So I think there would be pride, but also just shock in where we've pushed this company to. And I think that would just be really where they're extremely proud of us.
Man, coming again with the deep thoughts from RJ Bates. All right, CJ, what about your folks? What are they thinking?
Yeah, I want to say, some sense of relief and happiness, man. I got into business at 18, right out of high school. Not got into business, but got into real estate, trying to figure it out. Following different people around that I saw successful professionals for free, helping people with their business. And I had a conversation with my mom a couple weeks ago that was an emotionally charged conversation. And part of that conversation was just, she talked about how she saw where I kind of morphed into this person that wanted to achieve this thing, that wanted to accomplish this goal of being a real estate investor and owning property and flipping houses and, all these cool things that I've been able to do and thought it was about, at one point. But I think that they would be happy to see, not only that I've accomplished that, but that I've turned it into something much bigger and much greater than that. Been able to, pour into other people and serve others, been able to drive change and impact in the community around me, and to the actual footprint of the community in which I live, in terms of the developments that we've done over the years, the different social impact endeavors that we've done. Just this morning, I just made a annual donation to Housing Opportunities Made Equal. Shout out to them. And just, what we've been able to, or what I thought in the beginning was just about money and success and flash and, just all those things has become, something much more, beautiful than that. And I think they take a lot of pride in that for sure.
Well, I mean, that was a great answer, CJ. I didn't know that we had 5 minutes to answer, but I appreciate you taking all 5 minutes there.
Yeah, and no problem. I know you've been going for a little bit at work, but how it works now, right? how it works these days is that the champ sets the tone, baby. So I just making sure that you know.
I see.
Looking at we talk about PI every once in a while on some of our episodes. The one that's to the far left for myself is the compliance component, right? How well do we abide by rules? And I think that's we're talking about, the shock. I think that's one of the other things they will be surprised as well, right? Like, again, the good kid that did everything by the book. And today, the way we run our business is usually somewhere between gray and dark gray.
It's a lot of gray in real estate. To Steve's point too, man. It's funny because your parents and people that have known you for a really long time, right? They always see you still as whoever it was they saw you as the most. You know, like that little kid, or they see you as like my aunts and uncles. Every time we're at a holiday, they joke around about me and my brother how we used to just come and tear people's houses up, like, you know, feet on the couch, you know, just punching holes in the walls, just acting like lunatics, right? And they're like, "Oh my God, I can't believe you, right? You of all people have gone on to do this and do that." So it's special when you get to see people evolve and morph and become, you know, really who they're destined and were put here to be.
So you were
I
Rick
think-
James in the True Hollywood
Yeah,
Stories.
yeah. If I came over, this is back in the day, Steve. I won't do this to you now, but back in the day, man, I put my Jordans on your couch, man. I might just put my Jordans on your couch.
You get
all right?
slapped in our house.
That's Steve at the Christmas party. All right. So round number 1, we're going to go ahead and toss that one over to RJ Bates. He's been a little critical of my judging skills at times. Wanted to make sure my man gets a point, gets on the board before he's got to go clock back in. Let's go. Let's go ahead and hop on to question number 2, creating a legacy. I think we can all agree this year's World Cup was absolutely phenomenal. Even if you're not a soccer fan, it was insane. Messi has left a legacy of possibly being the GOAT. There's really not a lot of argument there. What are you doing to create a legacy in your business? We'll go ahead and start off with RJ. Go ahead and give us your legacy statement.
Well, before I answer that, I just really appreciate you finally giving me a point there. I was starting to feel like Leon there for a second. So man, it was really good to finally win a round. Listen, I think when it comes to creating a legacy, it's about identifying moments that are going to be memorable, and it's going to create a result that you can point back 15, 20 years, 50 years from now. And really that's what we've been trying to do with different aspects of our lives and inside of our business, whether that's capturing an asset or really focusing in on a specific core concept in our business and becoming great at it instead of just being good. But really it's just identifying those moments that come available to us. You look at someone like Logan Paul, and I know we've talked about him before on the show, and you see what he is able to do in his business, whether it's Cody Sanchez had a great TikTok about him where he has a business now that he can become a billionaire just by selling that business, and it's essentially selling bottled water. Yet he's still going out, he's doing things like building his brand by participating in the WWE. He's going out and he's capturing these moments that will forever be memorable. And that's what I think that we are trying to accomplish in our business to leave that legacy, because I think those moments is what everyone's going to remember.
All right, so we're chatting here. So guys, everyone that's watching, we're gonna start a GoFundMe. We need a buzzer for Matt. I guess when Weasel left, he took his buzzer with him. So if you guys start GoFundMe for a buzzer,
I'm gonna go find a new one. All right. Next up, round robin style. CJ, what you got for us? What you doing with a legacy? I am gonna create a buzzer, so you got 45 seconds.
Yeah, look, man, it's simple, man. I'm creating legacy by pouring into others and teaching other people who look like me how to get started in this business, people who don't look like me how to get started in this business, how to just take advantage of opportunity when you don't have much opportunity to start out with. I think that real estate is something that people fantasize about. They think it's something that you need tons of money and you need this and you need that. And the reality of it is that it's this vast, beautiful place that there's tons of opportunities in, regardless of where your starting point is at. And so, you know, legacy for me has been about showing people what that looks like, showing people that there is no barrier of entry. It's just simply entry. And how do you want to exist in the marketplace? So that's going to be legacy for me.
Under the 45 seconds. Impressive. You didn't get buzzed. All right. Next on the round robin here. All right, Steve, go ahead and tell us about the legacy. What are you doing?
Well, I think everyone knows, right? The mission that we have is creating 100 millionaires. On top of that, I would say the biggest thing is one of the reasons why I'm so passionate about the podcast is we want to teach people entrepreneurship. We want to, preach the gospel of capitalism. And, I'm not saying it's perfect. I'm not saying capitalism is perfect, but, having my grandparents losing everything twice due to communism, right? Like there's a reason why I'm so passionate about capitalism. So I think that if we can just teach people that want to become business owners a way, a methodology, the mindset, and everything else to become entrepreneurs, for me, that would be my legacy, is that we're able to help people leave their 9 to 5s that they're not fulfilled in to chase something that they're passionate about, if they're, I guess, more specifically within the real estate arena.
Made it just under with 4 seconds to spare. All right, Eric, what you got on the legacy front?
So I think this changes. It was probably a little different for me 10 years ago than it is today. Apparently, my primary strategy when it comes to legacy is children. I'm scheduled to have my 6th child here in the next couple months, so it's really shifted. My primary focus, I think, to create a legacy for my children is to give them a path to true happiness. And I think a lot of times what we realized, whether it's corporate or entrepreneurial, there's a lot in between that, right? There's people that can maintain the value and the luxury of having a corporate job and still have a side hustle or be entrepreneurial on the side. I think what we don't realize is all of the freedoms and all of the luxury that comes along with being an entrepreneur. A lot of people don't talk about the downside. It's a lonely place. It's very difficult for us to create friendships inside of being an entrepreneur because we're so often completely immersed in building our business. It can be a dark, lonely place. So whatever my children choose, I think too often early in life at the age of 18, they're supposed to pick something they want to do in college. And really it's like, okay, well, that's only for the next 4 years. But that decision that they make really dictates how they spend almost all of their 20s. And I've seen more so than ever now, like people that end up in their early 20s in a job that they have zero interest in. They hate it. They're miserable. Then of course they carry all this debt and everything else that comes along with it. But I would want to create a legacy of options for my children by giving them skill sets, a set of beliefs, and then meaningful relationships that they can inherit as a result of my work that would give them multiple options when they become adults.
Okay, so I want to play devil's advocate on this a little bit because I felt like when I heard y'all's 3 answers, they were all pretty similar in the fact that it's to help other people and impact their lives. But is that not, and I'm not saying that's a wrong answer because I agree to a certain extent, but as y'all were talking about it, isn't that just a part of us building our own legacy as a business owner? Is that it inevitably helps other people, but in reality, the mission is still that we are building the legacy that we are going to have in our lifetime and after. Is it really that, CJ, you are helping other people, or is it that you're building your own empire while you're alive, and the side effect of that is that you're helping people along the way?
Look, I think, 2 of those things could be true, right? I don't think that everybody will know ever the people that I've helped or people that I've spent time with, the people that have stopped me when I'm in the airport and asked me a question or pull up on me in random places and say, hey, I was able to watch one of your videos and make $50,000 or something like that. So I don't know that I'll even ever realize what that really looks like, right? Because what I've found with all of this is oftentimes people don't also know how you did help them. People do tell you, but a lot of times people don't, and that's okay too. So I don't know that it's necessarily self-serving primarily, but it can be self-serving financially, egotistically, whatever the case might be. But my primary thing isn't, and let me help people to, for that to be my legacy that I helped or that I made a bunch of money helping or, whatever the conversation could be. For me, it's just more so like, if I can help a couple people, man, the way that I needed help 13 years ago when I started out and I had nobody to do it. And so I messed up a lot and struggled through different things that I don't want to see somebody else have to. then that for me is good enough for sure.
Yeah,
I
so
don't need a plaque or a statue for that.
I'm sending you a plaque. Anyway, RJ. So if you look at kind of like what Chris said, right? Like it's not mutually exclusive. So there's will we do well if we're helping other people? Absolutely, we'll do well, right? I think that is a natural byproduct. You cannot. It's impossible to not do well if you're helping other people, right? I think it's just a natural function. But the part you look at, like the Maslow's hierarchy of needs, right? The first one is food and shelter. At the very top is soulful fulfillment. So it's also selfish, right? Like us trying to create a legacy is selfish in nature. I'm not going to say it's not, but it's also very beneficial for everyone else for us to be, pursuing significance because, you need to make, I think what the research says, like $70,000 a year. To go from $20,000 a year to $40,000 a year salary, like it's significant, right? Your life is changing. To go from 70,000 to 95,000 doesn't really change that much, right? So like there's only so much money you can make actively per year. But significance, that's that soulful fulfillment. That's what, helps us feel better about ourselves. So I don't think that it's mutually exclusive. I think you can be doing both at the same time.
Well, I agree. I mean, I just think to some degree it becomes the easier answer to say that why we're doing certain things is to help other people. I think when you,
I guess here, RJ, I'll say another way, right? I think it's the easier thing to say is I'm doing this for my family, right?
Yeah.
And there's nothing wrong with that. I think that's the easier thing to say. I think that's politically correct, right? But I've said this before. I'm being selfish as hell here, right? I'm doing this for me, right? My family will benefit from this, but my family doesn't need me to travel across the country. My family would prefer me to be at home, right? But when I do travel across the country, that's for me. That's not for them. And when I said that before, right, that was kind of like me lying to myself. I use this example of The Greatest Showman, right? When Hugh Jackman travels around the country with the opera singer, right? And the kids are like, hey, why is he doing this? And someone said like it's for his family. He said, no, he's not doing it for his family. He's lying to himself. He's doing it for himself to fulfill whatever, he needs. If there's a hole, right, that we need to satisfy, whatever it is. But yeah, I mean, I would take this, not controversial, but maybe the less popular opinion is that I'm doing this for me.
yeah, I mean, that's what I'm saying is like, at the end of the day, when I'm on my deathbed, I want to say I gave everything that I had to do everything that I ever wanted in my life. And I think the byproduct of that is I know along the way that tens of thousands of lives are going to be impacted on that, whether that's jobs that are created, opportunities for them to make money, the education, the helping, like CJ brought up, all of that's a byproduct of it. But you're absolutely right, Steve. I mean, when I think about it, it's like internally, I want to know that I'm empty and I did everything that I ever wanted in life. That's what I want for myself.
Yeah, I'm the same way, but the fulfillment from everyone, like the DMs, like I can't believe like how much you've helped me. Like I've changed my life, right? Like that's the kind of stuff that keeps me going.
Yep.
Yeah, I agree with you too, RJ. Like I get your point. I think like for me, for example, to what you're saying, I think in the beginning it may have started out as and still quite is, right? Like let me rephrase that. It still is. It still is very much my teaching styles. I'm teaching you what I'm doing for me. I'm not saying, hey, this is what you should do or what you should do or what you I'm telling you, I'm teaching from a place of this is what I'm doing for me. And this is what has worked for me when I was in your position. Right. And so I'm still operating for myself, right? That's why I mean, when I say two things can be true, I'm still operating for myself, but now I'm not holding that back from anyone else that could benefit from that information or opportunity as well. Whereas times in the past, before I ever decided to do anything online, I very much so wouldn't talk to very many people about very much of anything that I may be doing inside of my business, right? And so that's kind of the merger of the two.
We went pretty deep on this one. Definitely went past that minute and a half. That being said, we're going to go ahead and give this round to our fearless leader, Steve. Definitely, I like the insight of you have to be selfish to an extent. It is what it is. All right. Next on our list, we have our 2023 strategy. What is your guys' strategy going into 2023 for your business? Steve, start us off.
So for us, we are going harder and hiring more sales reps. So, we had the good fortune of partnering with Ren Bartlett to build out our sales leadership training. And part of building out the sales leadership training or sales leaders, sales force, he's been hammering on, and he's been able to convince me otherwise, is just to hire more salespeople. So we are doubling up our acquisitions, our dispositions, our lead managers. We are beefing up our sales force, and we're going to be leveling up our salespeople. We're raising the bar on the number of people, quality of the members that we're bringing in, and we're going harder on the salesperson side of our business. So more people going on appointments, more people building a buyers list. But for us, this might be a really simple answer, but we're just increasing the size of our sales force to go harder for 2023.
Love it. Contacts to contracts. All right, Eric, what's the Brew Crew doing in 2023?
So I think for us, a lot of times under normal circumstances, we can forecast out a year. When things tighten up like this, I like to operate in probably shorter feedback loops. Like I want to be making more strategic decisions probably on a monthly basis and a quarterly basis, which I wouldn't do under normal circumstances. Strategy for me would stay the same for a 12-month cycle. And we would work on just executing on that strategy for 12 months. What we've seen with the volatility of interest rates, our strategy cycle is broken down into actually 30-day cycles. So if we're really heavy right now, novations and wholesale, by the end of Q1, we may be looking at, depending on how interest rates fare and what values look like, we may pivot to more of a retail fix and flip model. That fix and flip model would not be something that I would be excited about doing Q3 and Q4 of this year because of the fluctuation in values. So right now for us, it's heavy novations. It's almost 70% of our business now, and the balance is wholesale. And then we're just cherry picking fix and flips, like median priced, super desirable, class A assets with massive spread. We used to be able to wholesale those and maybe make 25K. We're seeing now where those profits are down closer to 10. But if we're looking on like a 90-day flip, we might be making $55,000, $60,000 on a flip. So cherry picking flips.
Definitely have to read the market. That is an important factor there. RJ, what are you doing down in Texas in 2023?
So for us, we made significant strides in 2022 as far as acquiring assets and really fine-tuning what our hedgehog concepts are going to be inside the different branches of our companies. And so at this point in time, it's about executing that and really reaping the harvest that we've been sowing all 2022. So whether that's the game plan that we have for Woodhaven Country Club, the nationwide virtual wholesaling, really focusing on just staying focused on that, not trying to have shiny object syndrome of, hey, we can go out, we can do creative finance and we can do all these other things. No, our exit strategy is to wholesale on those and really just stay focused on the foundation that we've been laying over the past couple of years.
Love it. Love it. CJ, what are we doing in 2023?
Yeah, so for me, the last 2 years have just been a capitalization opportunity, right? With anticipation of market adjustment for the past 2 years, it's been about how can we stabilize our revenue as best possible? How can we get our capital stack as high as possible? And so the type of stuff that I'm doing sounds very similar to what Eric's doing as well. We're looking at things on a 30 to 90-day rolling basis, and we're not entering to any type of deal or project that would take more than 90 days to exit out of. So we're focusing on novation and hotel opportunities, right? We're focusing on seller finance and note creation using wraparound mortgages. And then we're focusing also on the traditional wholesaling model and using those things to drive cash flow and also using those things to drive, increase in capital. I think there's going to be really strong opportunities in the future. I don't know that we know yet what those opportunities are. What I do know from 13 years of experience is that every opportunity takes capital. And if you want to be able to do things in volume in terms of strategy and verticals in your business, you need large amounts of capital to be able to move around and commit to those different strategies. So we feel pretty firm in our viewpoint of the business and the different things that we're doing. And again, right now, it's like, how can we make sure that we're bringing in as much volume from these 3 core strategies and as much revenue as possible from them, while maintaining kind of our ability to stay lean, so that these opportunities that come up, we can take advantage of, man. I started in '08 and I missed the wave when I first started, but just from not knowing, I refuse to do that again. So we're ready to play in the sandbox, man, and make a mess.
So I think what Chris and Eric said are really smart, right? The planning 30 to 90 days at a time. I think that's really a really good way to handle this market. There's a lot of shift. I love what RJ said. Focus. That was actually something that came up. We had just had our 2-day annual meeting on Monday and Tuesday this week, and what we talked about within that, the biggest core things we're going to do is execute everything we talked about in 2022, right? There were some initiatives that we were going to hit, or we were intending to hit, that we missed, right? These were quarterly rocks that we just didn't get done. And so for 2023, at least for Q1, we're not adding anything new. We're just going to execute everything we talked about. So I think focus is a great point by RJ there. It was humorous to me because RJ said focus and Chris said like 35 things. So, to each his own.
But you know what's funny about that, Steve, is what I heard from Eric and CJ is that, like, to specifically CJ, is that he said, "Hey, look, I'm liquid, I'm ready to go," and all I heard is I'm ready to spend my money, and that's what we've been getting ready for. Is, hey, I want to pump as many deals to CJ as possible. And if he's looking to buy things on terms and then do wraparounds, then that means we need to go out and we need to lock them up and sell them to them on terms. And we're prepared to do that. And so I think it's just a difference of where our businesses are, but we have been perfecting over the past 2 or 3 years for this moment. I mean, I've been very open and honest in my podcast about, hey, I don't know when the change is going to happen, but now that it's here, this is the moment we've been waiting for so we can capitalize on it.
Yeah, for me on my end, right, it's like we look at it like this. It's how many revenue opportunities can we attach to direct to seller leads, right? I firmly believe that being direct to seller is the most important place to be in a real estate transaction. And so what verticals can we take off of being direct to seller and leverage for capital now and either opportunities later, right? And so one of the things I've been talking to my students about, for example, is going and getting the path of development right now and finding out where development is going to be taking place and start looking at things like, if you don't have awareness of how to do these things, hey, how do I create an option contract on a piece of land that may be an opportunity for development later? And how do I also provide substitution of collateral opportunities in that as well, to be able to take advantage of shifting notes around and things of that nature here in the future to leverage opportunities later and utilizing the capital that we've been able to build out. But everything kind of segues back into at all times a business that functions off of being direct to seller and marketing to people to create opportunities.
All right, gentlemen, we're going to wrap that round up. That round is going to go ahead and go to CJ. Love the answer. Love the in-depthness.
He just used big words.
Somebody get Steve a thesaurus for Christmas. Ship it out. I'll give you guys the address. All right.
Hey, so before you move on, we'll just before we get into round 4, just real quick announcement here. So with capital thinning in today's market, it's crucial for real estate investors to build relationships with reliable lenders to access the capital they need. That's where Kiavi comes in. Whether you're flipping houses or investing in rental properties, Kiavi offers fast approvals, high leverage, and reliable capital to close more deals in any market environment. Through our easy online process and dedicated support, you can access the flexible loan options that help you scale your business confidently. Go to Kiavi.com/real estate disruptors to learn more and download your pre-qual letter in minutes. You can also download a copy of their new Brewer ebook to learn the cash-on-cash return of Brewer versus turnkey. Terms and conditions apply. Please see Kiavi.com for further details about potential loan options. We had the opportunity, Eric and myself, because we're in Collective Genius, to be really connected with one of their LOs, Ray, and it was really interesting to witness, right? Because like for them, they were still lending, and I actually called them. I was like, "Hey, are you guys worried at all that you're gonna be like getting all the business because like everyone else is pulling back?" And they're like, "Nope, we feel good. We'll lend, right? As long as you got good credit, good decent credit, and there's equity in the property, we'll still lend." I was like, "Oh man, good for you." So that was it. That was just a quick commercial break.
We're now back from our commercial break. All right. Next up on our list, what was the biggest lesson of 2022 for you guys? This one, I'm feeling good about the answers that are going to come on this. CJ, start us off.
Yeah, I'm gonna say biggest lesson learned is for me it's around team building, right? You know, this year I've put a really hard emphasis on the departments within my business, really truly building them out, creating management inside of those positions, and really creating downlines that are effective and efficient. And that's something that I didn't put as hard of an emphasis on in the past. And it was a priority for me this year. And we've really been able to round that out by reinvesting a lot into the business at times where it would have been money maybe that was put out of the business for myself or other opportunities or other businesses. You know, I've been able to be really, really intentional this year of driving capital back into the business and really building out a team that can be led versus a team that of being in the business all day, every single day, and really truly growing it and taking it to that next level.
Love it. Love it. Steve, what was your biggest lesson from 2022?
So I screwed up so many things. It was really hard to really focus on which specific lesson. But I would say probably it had to do with communication within organizations. You know, as we grow in body count, layers of complexity are involved in communication. And, you know, we thought we were doing a good job of communicating, holding each other accountable and this and that. And what we learned and realized is that all our failures in execution came down to my part in failing to deliver exactly what I want done and having that communicated all the way down as well effectively. So the biggest lesson I learned was how to freaking talk to each other. And it seems like that should be super simple, but man, having Larry Yatch come through and having us all have a common language, shared, you know, common distinctions for what we mean when we say these particular things and expectations of responsibility. That was a major game changer for us. And we were only probably operating at like 60%. You know, I think, you know, 2023, hopefully by the end of 2023, we'll be operating at 95% in communication. But we've made it this far with my shoddy communication. I'm hoping that it's going to get a lot better in 2023.
That's a hope that we all have, Steve.
Thank you.
All right, Eric, what was your biggest takeaway from 2022?
Like halfway through the year, I started reading some of them for a second time. I got really involved with Jim Collins and read 3 of his books, The Flywheel Concept, Good to Great and Great by Choice. And what I realized was inside of my organization, and for me specifically as a business owner, the one very, very important part of running a successful business, which is discipline, I lacked. I was innovative. I was a big problem solver. I spent a lot of time and energy learning how to be a leader, but I didn't operate with discipline, and I didn't drive aspects of that discipline down into the organization. And as a result, when the market started to shift, it put me in a situation where I felt uncomfortable. I felt exposed. So I've made that a big commitment for me and the rest of the organization to drive. We've actually included discipline now in our core values. So it becomes part of our hiring. It becomes part of our daily routine. It becomes part of our communication. So it really exposed for me the value of discipline. And that's going to be a big focus for me in 2023.
Discipline's always great when motivation is lacking. Not saying that you're not motivated, but discipline takes over all the time.
Yeah. Motivation comes in phases. It comes and goes. Discipline is consistent. I mean, that's the primary difference. So
absolutely love it. RJ, what was your biggest lesson of 2022?
I think for me it was to keep our circle smaller, and the ones that are in the circle really pour into those relationships. I think there for a while, it was about the size of the circle, and we just neglected the people that were closest to us, and even us as partners, not communicating clearly, not understanding what, you know, we were feeling about where the direction of the business was headed and all of that. I mean, it was kind of like Steve said, for, he took a lot of ownership there for the results he got this year, or the results he's not happy about. And I think it's the same thing for me. I mean, I need to do a better job of pouring into the relationships that are most impactful and most important for my life and my business. And it's important to keep that circle small and just pour into the right people.
I think also RJ learned how to sell this year, so I think we should give him an award for that. He finally was able to sell something. So I think I think that kind of, I think we all forget about that because he doesn't talk about it enough.
Yeah, we should get him one of those plastic medals they give the kids when everybody gets a trophy.
This coming from the guy that put a belt on his counter last week. Did you forget
that was a real belt? That was a real belt that I deserved. I'm sorry, RJ. I'm sorry. I mean, you definitely were like above average, so you really do deserve more credit. I apologize.
What I really want to know is if Eric is ever going to participate in the post-answer debate.
I feel like Eric works while he does the show.
Me too.
This is his side hustle.
He's like in his CRM right now, tagging
literally here
Podio.
so
He's tagging Podio right now.
That's all we got, Matt.
All right. We'll cut that one short. We're gonna go.
I've never seen Eric speechless before. This is a moment we're gonna have to definitally replay during the holidays.
We're gonna go
I'm
ahead.
Not speechless, I'm just not interested. There's a big difference.
I think we can all agree on that round that Steve needs to communicate more clearly with everybody. So we're going to go ahead and give that one to Steve. That was a little bit of self-reflection on his behalf. We're very proud of him growing up in the year 2022.
You want to share a little bit about how I communicated to you about what you're going to do in this show so that they have a flavor?
Yeah, so I just want to let everybody know this is week 3. I thoroughly do actually enjoy hosting this and being here and chopping it up with you guys for an hour on Thursday afternoon. But literally the extent of Steve's guidance, if you will, was, hey, you want to host this? Okay. All right. Get a camera at home and just go in your office. Okay. Like, what am I supposed to say at the beginning? I don't know. Just introduce us. There was absolutely no guidance to this. So we're working on guidance. Again, communication is key. And every day we're gonna get better. Or I guess every Thursday we'll get better.
In my defense, Matt is one of those guys where there's a problem. Matt, I have a problem. I need you to solve it. He's that guy, right? So in my defense, Matt's that guy. So
it's true. If you do have a problem, just reach out to me. I'll
put you guys here. CJ, RJ, Eric, same thing, right? I think you guys are problem solvers. Like, hey, Chris, I have a problem over here. Can you go take care of this? You don't really need a lot of instructions. I just know that in 2 or 3 weeks, that issue is resolved. I don't have to worry about it anymore.
No doubt.
I mean, to
Potter
be fair,
he didn't have a SOP.
Dude, no, it wasn't even SOP. I didn't have anything.
Yeah,
like, literally, I didn't have anything.
Did not.
I'm gonna tell you what Potter said to me, and I don't know if you mind if I share this. He DM'd it to me, but I won't share the screenshot. He messaged me and said, "Hey, I got brought in to do this show, and I see you're on it, bro. I'm excited to be able to meet you and interact with you." He said, "Who is RJ Bates?" he said, "Who is RJ Bates?" And I'm like, dude, there's no you can't find any bio on this guy. I'm like, so I don't know what to tell you, but I'm like, you figure it out as you go.
RJ, I saw the screenshot. CJ told him you did all of Eric Klein's outbound texting.
Oh my God.
Hashtag Eric's appointment center. I don't know what all that means, but he said it was the best work he's ever got for $4 an hour. I don't know.
That's my second favorite Eric Brewer moment of the entire PTD year right there.
So out of curiosity, are we allowed to award Eric a point for that? For that epic roast? Like, I feel he should get a point out of that.
Maybe he'll be interested again.
All right, guys, we're gonna go ahead and get on to the last one before our bonus question. What was your biggest win of 2022? Tell the people, they want to know. We'll go ahead and start with our communication king, Steve. Go ahead and lead us off. What you got?
Shoot. So I would say the biggest win is that we really weathered the storm together. You know, I might sound like a big crybaby. I feel like I'm the only person in the guru world that's talking about how tough this year's been. But, you know, we weathered a storm here, right? I went through a business divorce in the first half of the year, and that was about 2.5 weeks before June 15th. And June 15th seemed to be the day that the entire West Coast of the country decided real estate's dead, right? And so I think that, you know, we had a couple of gut punches that we survived, and we just finished our annual meeting, and, you know, we were profitable in Q4 for a wholesaling company. You guys heard me talk about this on the show. We had some tough months, right? So on top of losing $70K between two properties, we still were positive for Q4. You know, so for me, I say a big win is that we weathered the storm together. We are stronger, and I would say that was our big win for 2022.
Very nice, very nice. All right, Eric. What was your big win?
I think you know, there's a lot of people out there. I mean, everybody on this call is obviously committed. There's professionals. We got some of us 10 plus years worth of experience. I think I would venture to say there's probably 50% of people that were active in wholesaling that are already out of business. They've either physically quit, shut up shop, they're done, or they're just mentally checked out. So each one of the people that are on this call and anybody that's paying attention to this is still going. And I think we don't give ourselves often enough credit for that. I was talking to people at a mastermind, 3 weeks ago that lost $1 million on flips in the second half of 2022, and they're still going, right? Because when we talk about and I hear this all the time, and I believe it when RJ says it and when Chris says it, that we were waiting for this time, but I've heard that for 3 years, and all of those same people that said that couldn't handle the shit when it came down the pipeline. Right? It's like, I can't wait till everybody's out of business and values go back to, and then they're screaming about, I can't find a deal, right? Nobody's buying my stuff. And I don't know how I'm going to make money. My flips are sitting, and they were scrambling, didn't know what to do. So I think the fact for me personally that I just kept going. And now that's put us in a very unique position that going into 2023, we've proven that we can go 3, 4, 5, 6 months at 70% of what our projections were and still be profitable. Now we've made a lot of adjustments on expenses. And if we hit that 70% number now, we'll be 30% profitable for all of 2023 by doing 70% of what we did last year. So that's a really big deal, right? And for me, one of the things that I'm most excited about is I don't work day to day very much in my business. I'm very blessed to have some extraordinary people at the management level that I really participate less than probably 10 or 15 hours actively in my business. So I'm just glad for me to be able to say that I made it, because it got really hairy there for about 3 to 6 months. And I don't think we're out of the choppy waters yet. But I think the beginning is always the most difficult because it's such a culture shock. We went from the craziest real estate market ever, like Chris said, or Steve said, and on the West Coast around June, someone yanked the emergency brake. It's like going 70 miles an hour in a sports car, and someone reaches down and yanks the emergency brake. The tires go flying off. You get sideways. You may flip. There's a good chance you'll die. That's what it was like being in real estate since June of 2022. So I'm just going to make.
There we go. I brought back the buzzer per Cassie's request. You're correct though, Eric. You did weather the storm. I do need to talk to management. They only gave you half a point for that roast, and I'm going to work on that. I will correct this wrong for you. I promise I will.
Thank you.
All right, RJ, what was the what was the biggest win in 22?
Man, 2022 was just an unbelievably great year for us. We not only did we find it's funny because my answer is going to go back to kind of all of the things I've previously said. We found a legacy moment for us, which was purchasing a piece of East Fort Worth, which is where I was born. It's where I grew up. It's where I went to high school. And not only that, but it is going to be a huge part of revitalizing that part of our city. Not only the country club, but the vacant land and the plans that we have to revitalize that. We had an opportunity to be on national television with A&E and zombie house flipping, but some of the more important things is we found a way to get ourselves out of the daily grind. Now we have Patrick Brown as our general manager at Titanium Investments. We were able to bring on Tyson Smith and Naaman Taylor, who were two of our students who now essentially run our education business outside of the actual coaching in the crucible. Just really excited about some of these moments that we've had this year, because it feels like we laid the foundation this year for what the next decade looks like. And now it's just about executing. And that is the biggest win for us in 2022.
Love it. Absolutely love it. CJ, what's the biggest win for 22 for you?
Yeah, I think it's a little bit of everybody's answer, honestly. 2022 was a phenomenal year for me. And when I think about the question, and my first train of thought is how we were able to get into a position of being able to trust within ourselves, within the organization. We planned out some new programs. We planned out some new strategies and adjustments and pivots in terms of the business on the investment side as well. And there's a moment for entrepreneurs in doing that where you're not really sure, or you start to have those insecurities of, hey, is this pivot going to work? Is this adjustment going to yield the same, similar, or greater result than what I've been getting in the past? And we did a lot of these things in anticipation of the market making adjustment in the near future, which ended up taking place, and getting to a point where seeing that proved accurate, where those, that pivot foot, took us in the right direction and was the right move. I would count that as the win. I'm extremely thankful for that because there's other things that were considered or other avenues that were explored that if we had taken some of those, the outlook or the position could be much different than it is today. And so I'm just really thankful for that.
I was really surprised. I thought CJ was going to say coming onto the show was his biggest win. I'm really bummed.
That is one of my wins. That is one of my wins that I get to hang out with you guys every week.
I want to say
RJ sometimes.
I want to say I really appreciate Steve's answer, because Steve, I've been very vocal about some of the bad years that we had in 2018 and 19, and then we started to get a groove in 2020. And I appreciate you being transparent during this year about the things that you've encountered with the business divorce and what happened in June with the interest rates and stuff like that. I want to be very transparent as well. When I talk about 2022 was a great year, now I'm not saying we made just a ton of money. I'm saying where we are as a business is that we have now laid down the foundation where we can make the legacy type of money, the financial freedom that we so freely talk about as entrepreneurs. But then when it really comes down to it, it's like, who do we really know that has that? There's very few people, and I think now we know the direction that we're heading to get that. I just appreciate the fact, Steve, that you've been open and honest, because you are one of the very few people that has said, like, listen, it hasn't been the year that we want, but we're sharing our wins and our losses, because that's something that's extremely important to me as well.
Yeah, I'm gonna piggyback that real quick. Steve's a beast, man. And I talk a lot about problems I had in business, 2017 to 2018, and the resiliency that took. So I really want to emphasize that it's not even about the money. It's about the ability to just press forward the next day, to take it one day at a time and get up again the next morning, lace them back up and go to work and keep plugging away and figuring it out. A lot of times, and I think, Steve, you said it in your answer, or Eric did, 50% of wholesalers are out of the game right now, right? Already. And that falls to just not being willing to keep pushing forward and keep working through things and keep making the adjustments. So I second what RJ's saying. I've had tough years, man, and I know when you have those types of years, other people don't know what that's like. They don't know what it feels like. A lot of people don't even have empathy for it, quite frankly. A lot of people talk about you behind your back, make comments to you and come or right behind your back and come shake your hand. So big shout out to Steve for working through things and also using your platform to set that example that everything isn't just, roses and rainbows, man. There's a lot of stress and anxiety and insecurity that goes into being able to just lace them up tomorrow morning, God willing, and do it again.
CJ, they don't say it behind his back. What they do is they actually just use it on their Facebook ads, and then they post in their Facebook groups. So with that being brought up, now that I've brought it up, let me just go ahead and say something, okay? As the best trash talker in all of real estate investing, okay? There is a humor in which you have to trash talk, okay? But when you do this because you suck at selling your own course, it is just pure cowardness, okay? There's no other way to put it. No one out there has dedicated more time, energy into bettering themselves than Steve Trang to then turn around and help other people. When I flew out to Steve Trang's podcast, he let me sit in for an hour to watch him get taught better sales, so then he could turn around and teach his students better sales. He sits there and he pours into people. I've seen it. His goal, his mission, his legacy is to build 100 millionaires, okay? And we see people ripping that off because it's such a great mission in life. So to the person, whoever did this, you should be ashamed of yourself, especially because it's Steve, but also just because it's poor marketing on your part.
Yeah, thank you, RJ, CJ, and Eric, because Eric, the three of you each reached out, so I really do appreciate all you guys. And then, to Eric's point a moment ago, I just want to say thank you for your kind words earlier. And really, it does take a team. Everyone says that, right? But it really does take a team. My team took a beating, right? It wasn't just me. My team took a beating this year as well, and we all made it together. Eric and I were actually talking earlier this year, right? Eric's like, hey, I don't know what's going on with the market. I was like, Eric, it's fine, right? Like when the market shifts, we're gonna be fine because we're in the right room and we got the right people and we have the resources, right? We just gotta align, maybe we have to make some adjustments, but I'm excited for this shift. Boy, I was wrong. I was totally wrong, right? Eric, you remember that conversation? Right?
Sure do.
So, to your point, like there are a lot of people saying, I can't wait. And man, some of us we're not as prepared as we thought we were.
But Steve, those same people were begging for January 2022 to come back. In one breath, it was, I can't wait till the market corrects. And then it was the market correcting. It goes, I wish we could just go back to January of last year. Right. And I think that's what you're seeing. Like that, I think RJ makes a great point, and it's good to hear somebody speak up and say something about some of the trash that takes place. But as Steve and I were texting about some of that crap, that's what's called, like, this anxiety and stress in the market correction is going to force people out of their comfortable little spot, and they're going to start to crawl. They're going to claw. They're going to hold on. They're going to try and take things from other people to preserve and save themselves. And it's going to reveal who's really got a go-giver mindset, and the people that have been stealing and fraudulently out there doing business with the wind at their back. It's tough, man. I think, to CJ's point, like just getting up some days after a long week or a long day, when you are the person that has to set the tone inside of your organization, you do not get any days off. You can't come in and have a bad attitude, because that bad attitude is going to rub off on your customers. It's going to rub off on your team. It's going to rub off on anybody that you do business with. And it's a friend of ours, Frank Cava, says, heavy is the crown. And, that shows up in a two-person organization, your home and your business. If you are the leader of that organization, all of that weight falls onto you. And it's tough some days just to get up and put a smiley face on and go out and go to work.
Eric, let me ask you a question. Of all the people that told you they can't wait for this market correction, did you ever hear any of them tell you why they couldn't wait for it? It was just a thing to say. Yeah. I mean, 90% of them didn't know why they were saying it. It's just, well, I heard Pace Morby say it. I heard Jamil Damji say it. I heard Max Maxwell say it. So I'm going to say it too. I can't wait until this correction comes.
Yeah.
They didn't know why.
Yeah. It was just a cliche thing to say.
Lot of parrots. I do have a slight bone to pick. Steve, I also texted you about this, and I told you I was going to go handle it, and you didn't even like drop names. So what's up with that? I don't even get a shout out on that, or what?
You did. I'm sorry, Matthew. You did as well. You also reached out, and yes, I did not. I don't feel comfortable sharing the name because I don't want. We just put it behind us. We just move on, right? We just remember and we move on.
Absolutely. We just keep moving forward. No reason to dredge up old shit. We're not going to do that.
Hey, real quick, Matthew, I don't know if you know how this works or not, but you're the host. No one gives a shit about you, okay? So carry on with it.
All right. So we're going to go ahead and take away RJ's point and give it over to Steve. We're actually going to split it between Steve, Eric, and CJ. No, that round we're gonna toss it. We're gonna toss it over to Steve. Got a little vulnerable and deep there, and was gonna give it to RJ, but here we are.
Listen, I think that's an oxymoron, man. Vulnerable and deep from Steve. What are we talking about?
I gave him a hug before the show, guys.
No, you did not.
He's breaking out into comfort zone.
No, do not spread these lies. I do not want to be assaulted.
All right, we're going to go ahead and go to our bonus question here. I don't even know if our panel has seen this, so this is going to be absolutely just shooting from the hip. What was your one negative belief you had to overcome in real estate? Steve, go ahead and start us off.
The one negative belief, I would say for me, it was actually that these people that are trying to sell me coaching are scammers. That if they are so successful, why would they sell me education? And that was my belief from 2007 to about 2010. And my goodness, what an idiot and how much I hurt myself along the way. So if I would have just done what they were suggesting, take out hard money loans in 2007, buy these properties for $35,000, rent them out, cash flow it, and then refi out when things change. Oh man, where would I be financially? But I was too prideful, too arrogant to be coachable, and I thought every one of them that was trying to teach me something was a scammer. So I would say that's probably my biggest negative belief in real estate.
Hindsight's 20/20.
Yeah.
Eric, what was your one negative belief you had to overcome when getting into real estate?
I think one of the things, just reflecting back on the last 15 years of my real estate career, and you see it when we go through these cycles, is I came from the car business. I came from retail sales. So I fell in love with flipping homes, and it's really awesome, like wholesale and, flipping homes and the quick money that comes with it. But I've literally done now over 4,000 real estate deals. If I would have kept 25% of those transactions dating back to, I started doing real estate in 2006. So you think about how far values have come since 2006, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 and 12, right? We were still near the bottom compared to what we're seeing values today. And I remember saying out loud, I was like, I'm not going to keep this house to cash flow $500 a month. I can sell it and get a check for 30 grand. Like, why would I want to rent something? And now, as I look back on that, the amount of time, energy, resources that it took me to do those deals, had I just kept 25% of that, I'd be in a different position today. So I'm looking more probably as I go into 2023, long game, less short game, even if that means sacrificing some short-term wins in the now.
Absolutely. It's a long play. Real estate always is. All right, RJ doesn't care what the host has to say. Go ahead and tell us what your negative belief is, which is clearly that.
I had to overcome that making money could be easy. I didn't think that could be a thing. I thought it had to be hard. It had to take time. You had to have knowledge and this extreme wisdom how to do it. And I think CJ, I think he's obviously extremely passionate about teaching this to people, and so am I. I probably just am not as outspoken about it, but I at this point am so passionate about simplifying everything down and letting everyone know, hey, this is one of the simplest industries to get into. This is not difficult whatsoever. Don't make it out to be. Case in point, one of my guys yesterday, a woman reached out to me on Instagram and said, my old landlord was getting blasted with tax delinquency notices and pre-foreclosure notices. Do you want to reach out and see if he wants to sell? I gave it to one of my guys and he goes, what do you want me to say to him? And I said, the truth. It's that simple. It doesn't have to be hard. There's no games to this. And that was, no one told me that in 2014 when I was dead broke trying to figure out how I could make $5,000 assignment fee. And I wish they had.
Very true. I actually had that conversation with an agent earlier today, and it's not as difficult as most people believe that it is. It's a limiting belief. That's all that it is. All right, CJ, what was the one negative belief that you had to overcome when you were getting into real estate?
That fixing and flipping should be a primary investment strategy in my business. It's in hindsight, because I deal with so many people and interact with so many people. I'm shocked how many people don't think I'm telling them the truth when they should not, when I'm saying to them that they don't need to be prioritizing fixing and flipping in their business. It's something that for a very, very long period of time in my life was my primary strategy that we ran. And did we make money from it? Yes, but we made a lot of headaches, problems, and issues from it as well. But people get into the business just like I did with no money and stuff like that, and we fantasize what we think real estate's about. And we see shows like Zombie House Flipping and House Hunters and all these other shows, and people were conditioned and programmed to think that flipping houses is the way to get into the business and do it successfully. And in reality, it's like nowhere near my top strategy anymore at all. And that was just something that I lacked complete awareness of, much like Eric said. The prospect of making 30,000 versus $500, 23-year-old me, 25-year-old me, give me the $30,000. In hindsight, with what I know now, I realize what sort of error that was, which is why I'm excited to answer RJ's question too about the market adjustment, is because I had a different perspective a long time ago. But yeah, fixing and flipping, man, everybody wants to do it for whatever reason. And there's so many better ways to create active income in the business that that's definitely mine for sure.
It's glamorous.
CJ, yeah, CJ, I got two things about your point here. One, every single crucible, I go over, I have an hour-long segment. It's called Exit Strategy First, right? So I'm teaching them how to be a virtual wholesaler. The number one exit strategy for our buyers is flippers. And I ask them why. And eventually we get down to, because the flipper, the guy that's going to buy that, or the gal, is doing it because of pride and ego, and they want to feel good because, look, I turned something ugly and I made it pretty, and I get the dopamine hit of 300 likes on Instagram because, look, I did this, when you could have probably made just as much money wholesaling it. And then my second point is zombie house flipping, okay? So I go to them and I'm like, hey, listen, I get it. You want me to turn this ugly thing into something pretty. But what if I show some really cool shit? Like, what if I do a novation here and I really teach this, and I could bring in this guy named Eric Brewer? And they looked at him and they said, nah, not for TV. And I said, okay, good point. And then I said, well, what if we don't do a crazy rehab on it, but we sell it on a wrap? What if we do that and we show people how to do this, and that's how you can make this passive income for the next 20, 30 years? And they're like, yeah, people don't care about that. They want to see something pretty. And this is what fix and flip is. It's not about making money. It's about making you feel good.
Just a couple of things here. First, when RJ said,
I wish I was good enough looking to qualify to be on the zombie house flipping show.
RJ was saying
RJ has a face made for radio.
real estate is real easy, right? When you say case in point, I thought you were going to say CJ. And then as far as Eric's point, he's talking about $30,000 or $500, right? Like, that is a decision that we all make all the time, right? And back then, it's like, I need the 30,000, and I'm guilty of this as well. But today, if I walked up to each one of you guys, hey, I need $30,000, I'm gonna pay you $500 a month for the rest, for the next 30 years, and then after that, you're going to have something that's worth $1 million. You in? Every single one of us will say yes. Why do we make this decision for quick rips versus wealth?
A
Man,
lot
I
of it
lost
was
so much common
necessity.
traction with that, man.
Yeah.
Yeah, RJ, speak on that, man, because I agree with that. It was out of necessity too. Go ahead.
I mean, dude, there was times where wholesale revenue slowed down, or we did a fix and flip because I needed to get my dopamine hit on Instagram, and I lost 60 grand. So then I looked at one of my houses that I own, and I said, well, I got $60,000 in equity over there. Let's sell it. You know, I mean, there was decisions that had to be made where I sit back and I regret some of those decisions, but I also look back and go, listen, sometimes we don't want to talk about it as entrepreneurs, but they were made out of absolute mandatory necessity. There was no other option. And so that's where it's like, yeah, I mean, if things were going good and we were just making it just to make the 35 grand, it was a mistake. But
So
that's not always the case.
going back to Chris's point, though, he mentioned this a couple of questions ago, right? Like, he is stacked financially, right? And if you're stacked financially, now it's no longer 30,000 versus 500 a month, right? And so we got to get ourselves in a position where we don't have to make that $30,000 decision out of necessity.
Yep.
And to be frank, me making that business decision to focus on getting capital heavy literally came from exactly what y'all are talking about. The experience of doing fix and flips in 2017, 2018, and the stress and strain that was putting on not just me, but the business itself. And it was the open realization that, oh, we're making this decision because we feel like we have to. And we feel like we have to because we've created this brand of fixing and flipping in our local market, and everybody knows our product, and the before and after pictures like you talked about, and the ego stroke of, you know, having more projects active than everybody and working on none of that stuff actually really matters, right? What I had to get to was a realization of, wait, if I've got to struggle and stress my way through this just to make some money, hopefully make some money, am I going to be doing this forever? Right? Am I 33, 32 years old and I'm going to be doing this the next 30 years? That doesn't seem sustainable. Right? Let's make a hard shift adjustment right now, and let's focus on more capital building, revenue generating activities. Fix and flipping doesn't look like it, but we don't really have this conversation enough, man, about what fixing and flipping really is. We don't talk about that enough.
I think that should be starting off the year. We can talk about that.
I like it.
CJ, yesterday in our team meeting, which, by the way, I haven't run a team meeting in months because Patrick's been running them every single day. And yesterday, I wanted to step in and I wanted to impose on the team one thing. No one cares about how many deals that we do. No one cares about how much money we make, except for the people inside these four walls.
Yep.
It is only inside our head that we think someone else out there cares if we do 50 deals this month or 5 deals.
Yep.
But at the end of the day, our families rely on the amount of money that we generate so we can take care of them. And that's what we need to be focused on. And you saw a light bulb go off. And as soon as that light bulb went off, and this is no joke, we just got a 6-figure assignment done this morning.
Does.
And so
Nice.
sometimes just having that kind of thought inside your team's head, your own head, because I'll be honest with you, it was in my head too. Hey, we've been saying it. We do X amount of deals per month, but
Right.
like CJ, who cares? Who cares how many
Yeah,
deals you were
100%.
flipping in 2017? Those people aren't even in the business anymore.
No doubt. I agree with you 110%.
I absolutely love that, RJ, because the moment that you start to realize that nobody gives a shit is when you go to the next level. Like it unlocks like a whole new level right there. And I know I'm just a lowly host over here, but those are my deep thoughts. So that being said, we're going to go ahead and wrap up Pardon the Disruption for 2022. We are going to be taking next week off. But before we go, if you had fun today, found value, just like to talk a bunch of trash, like, subscribe, Go ahead and share with friends, family members. Our goal is to get it all the way to Uncle Joe over on, 1600 Pennsylvania. That's our goal. Before we go, I'm going to toss it back over to all of our panels so that they can go ahead and leave you with their burning thoughts for 2022.
Steve.
Wait, was this for us?
Yeah, I'll go first.
There you go.
Okay, I'll go first. Again, I think that this has been a year to remember, no matter how it goes. Ren and I partnered up on sales leadership. I think, attracting, retaining top quality salespeople can be a big difference for you. That's something that's interesting to you guys. Text leaders to 33777. I really appreciate everyone that's watching. I appreciate having these three fine gentlemen, as well as Matt, Leon, and Jimmy, right? Because I think, the caliber of people we have on this show, I don't take it for granted. I feel truly grateful that we have that. So for everyone that's watching, happy holidays, Merry Christmas, have a safe, happy New Year. Chris.
All right, I'll jump in. Happy holidays, man. Happy New Year to everybody. 2022 has definitely been a ride for me, man, personally and professionally. Look, I think the only thing I want to leave everybody with last episode of the year was Steve's point earlier. Be resilient, man. Lace them up every single day. Don't be a part of that 50% that doesn't make it into the next year, doesn't make it into growing inside of this business. This is not a complicated business, like they said today. You don't got to be a rocket scientist to do this thing whatsoever. But press on it every single day. At minimum, man, just give it an hour of learning and studying on a daily basis and start to figure these things out and just take action and get it implemented. If you sat on the fence this year, if you didn't reach your goals, if you didn't do the things you wanted to do, it's water on the bridge at this point. Get geared up, get planned up, get prayed up, and much love to everybody, man. It's always a pleasure.
I'll jump in. I first and foremost want to thank Steve for this show. I absolutely love being a part of this panel. You guys are inspiring, and I just feel honored to be around you guys. Every single time I do this, I'm blown away by the answers that are given on here. I think this is one of the most impactful shows out there, not only on a real estate level, but more on a deeper entrepreneur like mindset level that is desperately needed in this space. And I think that comes from all of our experiences for being entrepreneurs well over a decade. To everyone that's been watching, thank you for the support. And have a great Christmas and a happy New Year, and looking forward to see you guys in 2023.
All right, sign us out, Eric.
Yeah, I wish everybody Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays, a New Year. I love this, one of my favorite times of year. I don't love the cold in Pennsylvania. It's like 7 degrees here right now. I wish I could change that, but it is what it is. It would be weird to be somewhere warm, I think, in Christmas. It might take me a couple years to get used to it, but I appreciate the opportunity to be on here and work through these conversations. It's very thought-provoking, and I probably learned just as much as a result of these shows each week as the people that are listening. So I get a ton of value out of listening to RJ and Steve and Chris and Leon. Not so much Leon, more so Jimmy and the other guys. But I appreciate it. It's amazing to me. You don't really, I think, stop and think about the exposure and the opportunity and all the stuff that comes as a result of this. But I have tons of people each week that interact with me that say, hey, I saw you on Pardon the Disruption. I really love what you guys do there. I had a question about something you talked about. So it's really amazing to see the feedback and the people that get value from this show. And I'm just lucky to be a part of it.
All right, so I guess we're done here. Thank you all. Again, no show next week. We'll see you guys in 2 weeks.